don't believe the Yankees can stand the heat down here in the South.
We went to Jennerstown earlier in the year, and I found out just what I thought. The only good thing from there was my wife.
I don't expect much. The best thing to come out of the north is a Johnsonville bratwurst.
Those Yankees just don't impress me none. I still have some unfinished business with the northern guys.
Those southern boys said, what?
Each division in the United Speed Alliance Racing Hooters Pro Cup Series is one race away from that rivalry becoming very real. But today, we are in Lakeland, Florida at USA International for the Jackaroo Sauces 200, the final race in the Southern Division, round 14 down south. Hello, everybody. I'm Brian Drever, along with Gene Crane up here in the broadcast booth. And down on pit road, Stephen Cox doing all the hard work for us on a nice balmy evening here at Lakeland, USA International.
Well, Brian, it's 97 degrees as we get set for tonight's event, the Jackaroo Sauces 200, presented by Lucas Oil. All of our teams have made sure they've got plenty of hydration.
Downstairs, Stephen Cox is going to introduce us to our Land Snacks Pole Award winner.
Well, it's the end of the year, time for all the hot shoes to step forward. This guy's one of them. Mario Gosselin already has a couple of wins this year. He's on the outside of row one. Now, Jason Sarvis is the Land Snacks pole winner tonight. Congratulations. This was a great, great run, and it looked good all the way.
Oh, man, I'm telling you, this is great for the Black's Tire race team. It's I just don't know what to say. I've been wanting one of these Land Snacks hats all year, and, you know, those guys just work. This is a brand-new car. We worked day and night for about 3 weeks. We got it 3 weeks ago from the body shop, and the car's just hooked up, man. And, you know, anybody could have drove it. I'm just sitting there turning the wheel and mashing the pedals. And, you know, Bill Boger, he gave me a great car underneath me. So we'll just have to hope it lasts for 200 laps.
And you guys are hooking up at the right time of the year.
Yeah, we're hoping that we've got a little momentum. We've run really well in the last 6 or 7 races. Just haven't had the luck to break into the winner's circle, but we've had some top fives and been in contention to win and led some laps, and I think that's kind of what our goal is. If we can put ourselves in the front and lead these laps, and maybe it'll work out at the end.
Our Land Snacks Pole Award winner, Jason Sarvis, has in fact led 3 races 3 times and 109 laps so far for the record. We'll be right back.
The USAR Hooters Pro Cup Series is being brought to you by Hooters Restaurants. Hooters, delightfully tacky, yet unrefined. And by Naturally Fresh Dressings. It's not just our name, it's our promise. By Jackaroo Sauces. Jackaroo tastes so great they named a steakhouse after us. And by Miller Lite, the great taste of a true Pilsner beer. And by Lucas Oil Products, the official lubricant of USAR and a worldwide leader in heavy-duty and high-performance lubricants.
Welcome back to USA International. Nice crowd on hand here. And the Hooters Pro Cup Series visiting Lakeland for the second time. So for a lot of people, including perhaps you at home, the layout should be somewhat familiar.
3/4 mile here at USA International Speedway, 14 degrees of baking. We go on board with Michael Rich's number 28, past the flag stand down into turn 1. Nestles the car down to the very bottom, wants to pitch it very tight, pick up the throttle, and let the car sweep wide off of turn 2. Little bobble there out of Rich's car, down past the crossover entrance into turn 3 again. Very tight to the inside, past the entrance of pit road, lets the car pick up out to the outside wall, and completes 3/4 of a mile here in Central Florida.
One of the larger tracks that the Hooters Pro Cup Series competes on during the course of the season, and it allows for a somewhat larger field to take part in the race here tonight. Some beautiful graphics on display here on the side of one of the motorhomes down in the infield, and very shortly we're going to be firing them up.
Mike Brennan and Jean-Paul Hebert.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
Jean-Paul Hebert and Mike Brennan, pro golfers on the NGA Tour, acting as grand marshals here and delivering the starting commands, along with some very attractive Hooter girls from the nearby area. And indeed, we have fired them up at USA International. Drivers getting ready, tightening up their gloves, crewmen doing their final preparations. Everybody's trying to find their seats because the action is about to begin here, Gene Crane, in the final race of the season for the Southern Division drivers.
Brian, 14 events here for the Southern Series, of course 11 for the Northern Series. Top 25 going to those 4 championship series races to decide the over $1 million in points fund money to be distributed this year.
The regular season is about to draw to a close, and we've been calling it the playoffs are set to begin here following this race for the Southern Division and one more at Chemung for the Northern Series drivers. So as the cars roll out onto the track and get ready to go racing here, the safety crew giving them the thumbs up. We've said it before, we hope these men are professionally bored tonight as we take a look at our Jackaroo Sauces starting grid. You met the pole sitter Jason Sarvis and of course Mario Gosselin on the outside of row number 1. Steve Christian goes in the Lucas Oil Products Chevrolet on row 2 with Bobby Gill in the Triple Diamond Enterprises 4, the defending series champion and points leader.
Row number 3, Shane Huffman, the Johnsonville Bratwurst, number 84, is joined by the 8 car, the 2-minute warning Ford of Jay Fogelman. Row number 4, Bill Clements Jr., the only Northern driver in this event this weekend, in his number 15 Hooters Ford, and Stacy Perrier, a brand new Pontiac sponsored by Naturally Fresh number 11.
Derek Kelly makes an appearance in the Discount Auto Parts Chevrolet on row number 5 with John Kinder in the Multimedia Graphics and Production Chevy. Then row number 6 is Hal Goodson in the Taylor Motorsports Chevrolet, and Curtis Davis with a new look on the Broadway Motor Company Document Technology Chevy.
Scott Hall takes advantage of some test time last week and plants his car 13th on the grid. The Taylor Motorsports entry, John Curley, brand new car for Curley, the Catawba Valley Community College car. Mike Laughlin Jr. in his Via Cream number 7 on the inside of row number 8, and alongside him, local driver Billy Mowry out of Clearwater, the Southeastern Mechanical Services number 33.
Toby Robertson puts the Johnsonville Hot and Spicy Chevy on row 9 with Chad Mullis in the Mullis Drilling Service Ford. Buggy Pletcher in the Akita Copiers Buckeye Office Furnisher Chevrolet, and Lee Tissett in the Cars Plus Chevy right next to him.
Rookie Danny Salmons out of Trenton, New Jersey, the Fred's Trailer Repair Hallmark trailer number 39, and Michael Rich, 9 career wins for this young man who returns to the series in the Country Fresh number 28. Kevin Sasser, his Sasser Motorsports number 38 on the inside of row 12, and Jimmy McLean in the Advanced Construction Technology number 3.
Row 13, Shane C. got a Tucker, Georgia in the S&W Motorsports 4. Daniel Johnson, Happy Hunting Ground Chevrolet. And on row number 14, R.D. Smith in the Hot Rod Magazine entry with Martin Nesbitt in the Blue Cross Blue Shield Chevrolet make up row 14.
Last February, Jeremy Bowser led some laps early on, but he will only qualify 29th in his Perk chassis number 58. Darrell Gwynn in the Miller Lite Ford number 67 on the outside of him. Row number 16, young Shane Wallace out of Mooresville, North Carolina. The E.M. Wallace Chevrolet number 4 is joined by Mark Whitaker, the Universal Dental number 31.
Joe Harrison Jr. in the Harrison's Automotive Chevrolet, and Luke Hill in the Pro Financial Advanced Tool Fastener Supply Ford are row 17. Jabe Jones in the McGee & Jones Motorsports Chevy. Mike Williams in the Action Racing Chevy. We round out the field with Mark Wallace in the Jasper Engines and Transmissions entry, and Ray Peel, a bunch of rookies at the tail end of the field here at Lakeland. USA International getting set to go with 38 cars, 19 rows. It's going to be action-packed. We're on board with Mike Laughlin Jr. in the Carolina Kit Car Via Cream number 7, looking off the tailgate there. Used to seeing a yellow car with Mike Laughlin Jr. inside. Tonight it's white. Stephen Christian in the familiar view out through the windshield of the Lucas Oil Products number 16, and he will be starting from the number 3 spot. And then we go on board with Michael Rich in the 28 car. Country Fresh Cuts on the outside, and this view through the windshield as the crews get ready to go here tonight or this evening under the setting sun in Central Florida. That's Ronnie White, who crew chief for the Johnsonville Bratwurst entry of number 84, Shane Huffman, multiple winner this season. There's a look at pit road and a lot of activity down there at least once tonight for everybody.
Mandatory 1 pit stop during the course of the 200 laps. Each team must change at least 2 tires during that pit stop.
Pace car rolling around, and the driver's trying to put a little heat in the tires. You know, Jason Sarvis, he said he was pretty excited and happy about getting his Lance Snacks Pole Award. One of the gas men there with all the protective gear on. This guy's ready to go a little early. Down on pit road already, Mike Williams, the Action Racing Chevrolet crew under the hood there, taking a look at it.
That car had actually been loaded up in the trailer so they could work on the transmission earlier in the day, and they've got it back out, but it looks like their problems continue this time up front in the motor compartment.
So the rest of the field circling around, and the lights are off on the pace car, which tells us next time we're going to go green. And you can tell the butterflies are flip-flopping around down there a little bit. Got a couple of new look cars, as we mentioned. John Curley has a brand new paint job on the 44. This is the time of year where they're bringing out new cars, fresh motors. They're getting ready for the Four Champions Championship Series that will decide the big money for the season in Hooters Pro Cup.
And Brian, that all starts in 2 weeks at Chicago Motor Speedway, so they don't have a lot of time to get prepped. They want to come out of here with a good straight race car, so they have minimal work to get ready for Chicago and the Northern boys.
And it essentially sets the seeding among the Southern Division drivers, how they finish up in the points. Right now, Bobby Gill in the driver's seat, Hal Goodson, Stephen Christian. Those are the guys at the top of the heap. But tonight will decide who ends up at the top of the heap before we start our playoff series. Chris Morris from the NGA Hooters Golf Tour. We've got a lot of golfers in the crowd here tonight. They've been around all weekend long.
Trouble!
Oh,
Goslin.
Mario Goslin makes a right turn into the wall before the race even gets going, and we got our first caution before one lap's even done.
That is not the way two-time winner here at the Speedway, Mario Goslin, wants to start this race. He was number 6 in points, only 95 points behind behind second place Hal Goodson in the points. That's going to hurt.
Oh man, the Carter Grandel Eastern Metals Polar Guard Ford heavily damaged on the right side, and you know that was not driver error. That something had to have gone wrong. Mario's waving out the window, says he's okay. Safety crew's going over to make sure. But in any case, one of the real favorites in the race from the outside of the front row right into the wall. Take a look. He just makes a right turn hard on the brakes. Kaboom!
Yeah, he had the brakes locked down. Looked like the throttle was stuck on that car. You can see those black lines going straight and up into the outside wall in turn 1.
Oh, we can only guess that the stuck throttle, and that's the word on the radio right now. The throttle stuck, and Mario Goslin is an early casualty here at USA International. Well, now let's hope we've got some of the excitement out of the way early here, as the fans who were caught at the concession stand already missed a caution. And unfortunately, it came at the expense of Mario Goslin, the Carter Grandel number 10. That is a mess, and I would say the night is done for the outside front row starter.
If they get that car back together, it's going to take a yeoman's job to do so. It's bad.
So on the restart now, Jason Sarvis has Bobby Gill for company up front, and they get set to go back to the green flag. Sarvis, the pole sitter and the defending champion, heading out on the racetrack. Let's go downstairs.
Mario, I guess the first question is, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Carter Grandel Ford been good all day. Best I could tell, the gas pedal got hung up on the leg brace. That's the only thing I could tell. The throttle was stuck wide open going in the corner. I got a hold of the switches, but it was too late.
So this was not related to the problem you had at Indiana Speedway with the carburetor stuck?
No, I think the pedal got stuck inside the car, the best I could tell. It's hard to tell now, but we'll go to the shop, figure it out. We're done for the day.
Mario Goslin, of course, with enough points to clinch a spot in the Four Champions Championship Series.
Brian, big jam session down in turn 1 and 2. Derek Kelly was right in the middle of it. You saw Bill Clemens off to the right-hand side trying to gather up the number 15. Looks like he may have a right rear tire going down, and the rear bumper cover is flapping on the back of the 21 Discount Auto Parts Chevy of Derek Kelly.
Can't see it from this look in the onboard of Michael Rich, but definitely bodywork problems for Derek Kelly. Jason Sarvis out in front. Bill Clemens Jr. is going down pit road with a flat right rear and some damage to the right rear of the Hooters number 15.
Now you can tell where they got jammed up, and Bill had got booted over there in the corner. That's likely what cut that tire down. Sarvis, though, the benefactor, he's able to open up over Steve Christian. A pretty good battle behind them for third with Huffman and Bobby Gill.
Side by side going into the corner. Bobby Gill a little bit loose, tight, all over the place there. And Huffman down on the inside, stalking them both is the number 8 of Jay Fogelman. So Fogelman, looking like a pretty fast race car, has got a little bit of blockage in front of him right now. He's trying to pick which one of them is going to get by.
And a freight train right behind them. You've got Fogelman right behind that side-by-side battle, but Stacy Puryear is there, and so is Curtis Davis.
So a nice little grouping going on in a race for third. Looks like Bobby Gill is getting the advantage now. A couple of laps of heating the tires, and he goes off and away.
Jay Fogelman's going to try the outside. That's the hard way around, but protects those tires a little bit, keeps you from pinching the car down quite so much. That's what Shane Huffman's having to do with that Johnsonville car right now as they work off at turn 2.
The USAR officials having a look at the 21 car and that flapping bumper cover, but nothing happening just yet, as now they go single file. Here we go down pit road. The black flag has been shown to Derek Kelly, so he's going to take a visit on pit road and see if they can't get that problem fixed. Of course, under green means he's going to lose at least a lap. Steven Christian, Lucas Oil Products number 16, chasing leader Jason Sarvis, who's looking very much like the fast car on the racetrack here. Of course, he was our pole sitter, and he's looking like maybe race winner, but it's too early to tell.
Very early to tell, but that 6 or 7 car length advantage he's got is pretty stable right now. Mike Laughlin Jr. looking off the rear deck lid of his Chevrolet. They decided to move to the Chevrolet because they had the engine sitting in the shop ready to go.
So Michael Rich, with a new look on his car, joins a whole list of drivers who have cars that look a little bit different here in the closing stages of the season, bringing out the new stuff for when it counts for the money races coming up. Via Cream Carolina kit car number 7 of Mike Laughlin Jr. Very smooth on and off the gas. Oh man, sound of the car, the car sounded good, looked good, and then just as we're watching, a plume of smoke comes out of the back of the number 7 car, brings out a caution, and we could have another casualty here in the early going.
As he worked to come off the corner, it didn't seem like the car came up to power at all. It looked like maybe
a little too smooth.
Finally laid down right there in the middle of the corner, and that was all it was going to go here tonight at Lakeland.
Not the usual wiggle that you see under the application of power, and now we know why. Motor's gone away, everybody's slowing down, and Mike Laughlin Jr. has taken the number 7 car down on pit road. So Jason Sarvis is your leader. The 94 of Ray Peel down on the inside line. Here's a look at our Naturally Fresh Mountain Spring Water leaderboard after just 8 laps of racing. All the way down to the top 10, Billy Mowry and John Kinder rounding out the group. Pace car circling the track with the field lined up behind it. Jason Sarvis, Steven Christian, and Bobby Gill. Meanwhile, Derek Kelly's Discount Auto Parts crew going to work downstairs, and so is Stephen Cox.
Mike Laughlin Jr., big problems. This one ended a lot earlier than you expected. Mike, what did you feel in the race car?
Well, something let go on the motor, I believe. I'm not sure. We're going to have to check it out and see what happened. We had a pretty good high host. We tried them on at Carlo this week, just trying them out. They've been giving them a little bit more motor, some different stuff with the intake. So we want to try it out, see what how it compared to our Ford. And unfortunately, we didn't get to try it long enough to see.
So an early evening for both Mario Gosselin and Mike Laughlin Jr. doing some R&D work in preparation for the championship series. Right now, though, Jason Sarvis out in front. And the whole field stretched out in single file. Derek Kelly returning to the racetrack. And, of course, he will go into the line, the inside line of lap cars. Taking us a little bit of time to get used to some of the new looks out here. Derek Kelly down onto pit road again as the race goes green. Sarvis, Christian, Gill, and Huffman in that order. And Bill Plemons Jr. in the number 15 Hooters car returning to the racetrack down on the inside line. He is very definitely off the pace just a little bit, although, well, now he's looking pretty good. He got passed very quickly there by Sarvis, and here comes Derek Kelly back out onto the track.
That's going to cost Derek big time. Bill Plemons Jr. did lose a lap when that right rear tire started going down, all part of that jam session on the opening lap down in turns 1 and 2. Lost laps, that's why he started on the inside. He's the only car, was the only car at that time that was a lap down. We'll see how Sarvis, who is moving in on the 94 Ray Peel, see how quickly he can catch some of the back markers and start that lapping process. Pretty good battle between Jay Fogelman, Curtis Davis, and Shane Huffman, the 84 car, hung to the outside as both Fogelman and now Davis will work inside down in turn 3.
That 00 on the red car of Curtis Davis is one of the new looks we mentioned a couple of times. Bill Plemons Jr. picking up his victory, his first career victory at Thompson Speedway earlier this season, Northern Division race. And he has been a frequent visitor to the Southern Division Series, especially on racetracks in which the championship will be decided.
As we said earlier, the only Northern competitor to make the trip down as we get set to square off for those 5 championship deciding races.
John Curley in the orange number 44 Catawba Valley Community College car. We're used to seeing a purple paint job. We're on board with Michael Rich in the Country Fresh Cuts number 28. And it takes us a while to realize that's not Regan Smith, who we're used to associating a number 28 on the side of the race car. Regan, of course, a Northern Division driver. We'll be seeing him.
Looks like Michael's going to work up towards the rear bumper of Scott Hall's number 54.
Whoa!
Bill Clemens holding up the program here for a little bit.
Yeah, talk about working up to the rear bumper. Stephen Christian got right up close and personal with the Hooters number 15 bumper there. And there is your leader, Jason Sarvis, in the Black's Tire number 92. Of course, we've documented several times that Sarvis and Puryear switched rides.
Shane Sieg working to the inside of Daniel Johnson. Sieg has got to have a great run here today if he's going to sneak his way into the top 25 of the Southern points and be invited to those 5 championship races where all the money's paid out, and of course the champion is crowned.
Rookie Daniel Johnson has been a contender for top rookie honors all season long, so he's doing very well. Jason Sarvis, his only real chaser right now is Bill Plemons Jr., who's a lap down. Bobby Gill and Stephen Christian going after it, and Gill is starting to move forward with some authority now, along with Jay Fogelman.
Bobby Gill, they rebuilt the engine, they freshened everything up just to come to Lakeland and try to get everything set for those 5 championship races. Looks like right now they've done the right things. They brought Steve Birdie down, not necessarily to wrench the race car, but they wanted to get a
caution! Caution on the racetrack, and it's the 94 car. Yeah, Ray Peel.
Yeah, they brought Bird down just to be able to get an extra mindset there in the pit area, make sure that Bobby and the dudes were making the right choices on the 5 car when they adjusted throughout practice. I think he's up on the roof right now, spotting for Bobby, or at least helping out.
Well, I think Birdie might actually just be a referee between Deuce and Bobby Gill. It may turn out that way. Those 2 guys have a different way of looking at just about everything. We'll be right back. The Jackaroo Sauces 200 at USA International, presented by Lucas Oil. Final race of the Southern Division for the 2001 season at Hooters Pro Cup. And a very nice crowd on hand. I think they sense the importance of what's happening here tonight, and they're getting a little sneak preview of what the very last race of the season might be like. At least, you know, that'll be the championship, the absolute championship deciding race, and 25 of these drivers will be in it.
Right, 25 drivers from the north, 25 from the south. I thought it was interesting. We looked at Bobby Gill's point average per race in the Southern races so far this year, only 132 points per race. You look at Marty Lindley, who leads the Northern Division, 138.5, so we'll see how those 2 stack up when we put everybody together. Right now, though, we're back to racing action.
Well, the paper battles are going to be interesting, and then we'll see how they apply to the real battles once the 4 Champions Championship Series gets started here at the end of the season. Our field summary after 26 laps. Shane Huffman, John Curley, Stacy Puryear, Kinder, and Mowry still in the top 10. Of course, you know, there's so few laps have really gone by, not a lot of position changes so far. Deeper in the field, some pretty serious things have happened, of course, including the early exit of both Mike Laughlin Jr. and Mario Gosselin. Jimmy McLean down on pit road. And by the way, the 24 of Mike Williams never able really to take the green flag, so he will be officially the first non-finisher, if you will, or non-starter in his case.
Tough break after having such a great qualifying effort and race up at South Boston just 2 weeks ago. Comes to Lakeland and just can't put anything together here tonight. We saw McLean's car sitting on pit road. Jimmy McLean was another driver just outside the top 25. He was going to have an outstanding race. In fact, probably would have had to won the race to be able to get a chance to get into the top 25. It's not going to happen tonight. That car still sits on pit road. Problems under the hood for that machine.
So a couple of drivers coming here with hopes of getting into the top 25. The reality is that those top 25 point getters have been pretty consistent. We got stuff flying all over the racetrack there.
Looked like it was off the 94 of Ray Peel.
Yeah, well, Peel had returned out to the racetrack, and we have no caution right now because once that piece of debris, a piece of bodywork or something flew off, and we think it was Ray Peel's car, it landed well off the racing line. So the USAR officials, very heads up, keeping them out there on the racetrack. Big gap between Bobby Gill back to Jay Fogelman right now, who is still battling somewhat with Stephen Christian, the lapped car of Derek Kelly, and the 00 of Curtis Davis.
Meanwhile, Jason Sarvis is checked out on the field. You said earlier, 3 races that he has led here in 2001, 109 laps to his credit. He could theoretically, if he can keep this car running the way it's looking right now, he could just double that total altogether right here tonight.
You're absolutely right about that. He's put another 30 laps onto his lap-led total. And Bobby Gill similarly checking out from the field, and now Mark Wallace overheating down on pit road. So the Jasper Engines and Transmissions entry of number 72, Mark Wallace, also may be done for the night. He's out of Griffin, Georgia, driving a Chevrolet here. Well, he was until a little while
John
ago.
Curley,
Whoa!
Sideways off into the corner there trying to race. Didn't quite see who he was racing with. Maybe we get a glimpse of that back there, but he had that car sideways, dirt tracking it off into the corner.
Derek Kelly very quick. Here's Ray Peel back down on pit road and behind the wall, in fact, as the crew continues to work on it. Derek Kelly in the Discount Auto Parts number 21, very fast, early problems taking him out of contention, but he's still pretty racy out there with Stephen Christian. Curtis Davis trying to keep his brand new looking race car nice and undented, doing a good job of it. Very talented young man, we've documented that. Running pretty much on the low bucks deal, but he's been down here all week, and he seems to be very definitely trying to get ready for the part of the season that really counts.
Curtis Davis did spend a little bit of time with us down here in Lakeland, here in Central Florida, part of the Parzing Cars Classic, which teamed up the NGA Hooters Golf Tour and the USAR Hooters Pro Cup Series here in Polk County. We went over to the Pro-Am on Wednesday, had his car set up on display there, and watched those pros out there on the golf course. And had a chance to talk to he and his dad for quite some time. What a nice group of folks they are, and they work pretty hard at getting that car back together and keeping it running in each and every race.
Is Curtis as good a golfer as he is a race car driver?
Well, Curtis has got a set of clubs like mine. They say Caterpillar down the side. All we do is move her.
We've got a nice little battle going on behind Shane Huffman now. John Kinder is right in there with the 08 car. He put the new look on a few weeks ago. Lee Tissett in the number 55 Cars Plus entry, and a little bit of rubbing going on.
Mowry and Billy Mowry right there.
Yep.
Of course, Billy Mowry had a decent run going back in February, his only other appearance here in the series, and got collected in that big melee off of turn 4 that we had that involved Joe Harrison and a few others. But, oh yeah, Buggy Pletcher.
Hal Goodson and Buggy Pletcher getting together. Pletcher going up on the high side. Bill Plemons Jr. down on pit road again. And, you know, his troubles continue. And Bill Plemons Jr., of course, the only Northern Series driver visiting here, could be pretty much on a research mission to make sure he gathers some important data for Lakeland USA International here in the late season. As now the number 54, that's the sister car of Hal Goodson. Scott Hall driving the 54, Goodson the 45, and he and Buggy Pletcher having a little rubbing fest down there.
Looks like Michael Rich now to step up to challenge Pletcher. He's going to keep the advantage on the outside as we're going to go back on board Michael Rich's number 28 as they work off into turn number 3. Oh, Buggy wide in the corner off of 4. Able to carry it back down to the bottom and slam the door on Michael Rich in that 28 car.
Buggy Pletcher and the Akita Copiers Chevrolet just in front of him there. And we'll go downstairs. Stephen Cox with Bill Plemons Jr.'s crew.
Well, if you can't win the race, you might as well make it into one giant 200-lap test session. That is exactly what Dale Burns and the Hooters crew are doing. These guys always put a fantastic race car under Bill Plemons Jr., but they've already gone a couple of laps down after an earlier mishap with Derek Kelly. Now, the answer to that situation is bring the car in, bring it in under green. Who cares? You're not going to win the race. And use this as one giant test session for the Ford Champions Challenge Series race to be held here a little bit later. They've tested the air pressure in both front tires, They've taken a close look at the circumference of all the tires to see how much they grow, to see what it does to their stagger, and they're really using this literally as a 200-lap test session.
Really not a bad choice there, Brian. You know, they're not going to gain any points here tonight. They are registered to collect points in the Northern Series, so they're out of the contention for the win after that problem early on, losing a lap. So why not make good use of your time and money?
Jason Sarvis coming up on a whole cluster of cars about to go a lap down, and so is Bobby Gill. We'll be back to Lakeland in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. And I'm Graziella. Welcome back to the Jackaroo Sauces 200.
Thank you, girls. On board with Michael Rich once again, and still looking at Buggy Pledger's number 51, but now the 54 of Scott Hall intrudes itself into the picture. And Hall had been in front of Buggy Pletcher there a while ago, and he's got all kinds of problems right now.
Some pretty good racing right there, Brian, as they continue to rub fenders just a bit. Now they're going to go single file down into turn one. Looks like that might be Stacy Purrier, a brand new Pontiac for that team this weekend.
Hal Goodson's number 45 car, then the 11 of Stacy Purrier, the 51 of Buggy Pletcher, and Scott Hall in the 54. We go back up to the 7th place battle now. Shane Huffman and John Kinder nose to tail around the racetrack. The Johnsonville Bratwurst number 84 has been to victory lane this season. Kinder has not, but he's been pretty close a few times in the multimedia graphic Chevy. Here's our Goodyear full field rundown. Rookie Jason Sarvis is way out in front. Bobby Gill, the only one even close. John Curley is just in front of this battle. And we look all the way back through the field now. Hal Goodson in 12th position, Purrier 13th. Toby Robertson in the other Johnsonville Bratwurst, the hot and spicy car, in 20th position.
Jeremy Bowser, Danny Sammons, Martin Nesbitt. After that tough weekend 2 weekends ago at South Boston, Shane Wallace, Mark Whitaker, I should say.
And some of the attrition, Jimmy McLean, Bill Plemons Jr. in and out of the pits. Mark Wallace that we mentioned. Mike Laughlin Jr. is out, Mario Gosselin out, and the 24 car of Williams never started. And Gene, as we watch the racing around the track here, Lee Tissett pulling ahead of Shane Huffman right now. Kinder trying to do the same thing. I am still very impressed with the notion and the fact that we are doing something here in Hooters Pro Cup in 2001 that's never really been done before in a major racing series, and that is have what we have called the regular season leading to a playoffs where two divisions will come together as one to decide a champion at the end of the year.
You're right, Brian. To my knowledge, there's never been a racing series attempt something like that. And so a lot of folks are watching just exactly how it's going to play out here in the Pro Cup Series. The way it works out, folks, is that there are 25 drivers that have the opportunity to come race from the south. Same thing with the north. They're going to go into each race with a weighted advantage, a point system. Going into that very first race, we're going to see the point leader from the south and the north both have 180 points. There is a 40-point gap back to the second position. And then there are 5-point separations for a few positions. And it breaks right on down to the 25th position driver getting credited with 90 points before any racing starts. We then run 5 races, and points are collected on those 5 races and added to those entry points going into the Ford Championship Challenge races. And that's how the distribution will be decided. $250,000 goes to the 2001 Hooters Pro Cup Series champion. $10,000 as part of the Miller Lite Rookie of the Year program to the highest finishing rookie in that series coming through those 5 races. And of course, the final race is held right here at USA International Speedway, the Hooters 300. Thanksgiving weekend, that's November 24th, right here in Central Florida.
While we were discussing that, Bobby Gill came up to take the lead away from Jason Sarvis, who seems to be intent upon taking it back. We know that Bobby Gill is always strong here at Lakeland, and we know that he is always strong when it counts, or else he wouldn't be a 2-time champion. But Sarvis looking awful good here tonight and seems to be as good as Bobby Gill here at Lakeland USA International.
Bobby's got to victory lane on 4 occasions here at USA. He's won 3 Hooters Pro Cup races, as well as the old Hooters Cup late model series. You go back to 1997, I believe it is. Bobby Gill picked up a win in one of those late model type races, so he's no stranger around this facility. In fact, if you look at the wins here at USA for the Pro Cup drivers, Bobby Gill has 3, Mario Goslin has 2, Michael Rich has 2, Derek Kelly has 2, Andy Thurman has a win, and Brian Vickers with a win.
A lot of cars going laps down early the way Bobby Gill and Jason Sarvis are circling this racetrack. We just saw Toby Robertson in the Johnsonville Hot and Spicy Chevrolet go a lap down, and that is an indication that we've got some pretty fast cars up front and a long green flag run here for a while on this 3/4 mile track. Not a lot of laps, but a lot of distance is putting guys a lap down early.
We're reaching a point where the radio chatter is going to be rather constant as to what these cars are needing and what these crews are going to plan to do when we get into the pit stop window, which is coming up very quickly.
Sarva's still working on Bobby Gill as both of them come into traffic. Shane Sieg's number 139 going a lap down there, the S&W Motorsports Ford, as the leader Bobby Gill works around the outside. Sarvis is right there, and Gill was able to make a pretty uneventful pass, but you get the idea that Jason Sarvis still has plenty for the defending champion.
That was Michael Rich very high over there in turn number 4, continuing to ride the high side. Apparently the handle has gone way away on that number 28 for Rich.
Also going a lap down, and Bobby Gill coming around the outside of Jeremy Bowser. So one after another, and look at the traffic jam he has to deal with now. And you know all the spotters are warning their drivers. Daniel Johnson in the Happy Hunting Grounds, number 56.
Kevin Sasser, the 38 car, right there as well.
Wow, I mean, Gill and Sarvis are just unwinding the field here.
Scott Hall and Hal Goodson haven't been running that far apart, as well as Buggy Pletcher. Got a lot of real good cars about to go a lap down.
Amazing that this many good race cars are going a lap down this early in the race. There is Hal Goodson, as we mentioned, runner-up in points leader at one time during the season.
Battling for 9th with Billy Mowry, who was a late model campaigner during the regular season, if you will, down here in Central Florida.
Shane Huffman there in the 84 car, Johnsonville Bratwurst yellow number 84. And it is a traffic jam. This looks like a 3/8 mile track, not a 3/4 the way they're piled up around the pavement here tonight.
Surprised with Hal Goodson's run. Just has not been characteristic of the man that sits second in points. Got 3 wide. Whoa, hang on, boys.
And Hal Goodson got a little crowded out down there at the bottom. So Mowry was able to slip on by Shane Huffman, and that was all somewhat because the leader was coming up behind him. And the flag was waving on the stand, telling the leader was coming. But Bobby Gill just, man, he's looking like he greased up both sides of that number 5 Triple Diamond Enterprises car, and he's just slipping through.
And all that action allowed Jason Sarvis to get
another
big
caution.
problems.
We got a wheel. You picked a fine time to leave me loose wheel. That's an old song that's been used before, but for Stacy Puryear, look out, guys. That tire's heading for pit road without the race car.
And
right
like
front.
We're going to cool it down just a little bit there, aren't we?
We're going to cool it off. That is not a rain tire. Look at that. You can see how hot the rubber gets from the work it has to do around the racetrack. And as it splashes into the water there, the steam is rolling off. Stacy Puryear in the naturally fresh number 11 bringing out a caution here with a loose wheel heading down into the infield. So the safety crews are out on the racetrack, and that wheel did some damage when it left as well, didn't it, Gene?
Yeah, Brian, I looked at the right front right there just before the truck got into position, and the hub is still intact on the car. Also saw that the center of the wheel was still intact as it rolled down there to the infield grass area along the pit wall. So apparently the wheel studs may have broken on that number 11 of Stacy Puryear.
He's climbing out of the race car, going over there to take a look himself as the safety crew hooks it up onto the wrecker. The crowd is on its feet, and why not? Let's go downstairs real quick.
Well, the 92 car of Jason Sarvis will come in, and you know, as of about 30 seconds ago, these guys had no idea what adjustments they were going to make. Well, I think they decided on just a little bit of stagger work. They're going to try to tighten up the stagger just a touch because your pole sitter tonight is loose in the corners. And they got all kinds of fuel coming out there too. A little bit of problem with the fuel nozzle, and they are really going to short pit. I mean, we're what, 69 laps in right now out of a 200 lap race. So Jason Sarvis, your pole sitter, is going to set precedent.
Well, they must feel pretty confident that a short pit strategy here is the way to go, and apparently Sarvis's car has been so good they weren't going to make a lot of changes either. And now, once Sarvis has set the precedent, as Stephen Cox says, we've got wholesale numbers coming in down pit road, including Shane Huffman. Back downstairs to Stephen.
And Shane Huffman will also make a short pit with 69 laps under our belts right now. Right side tires going on. And you know, the pit strategy really has changed this year. It wasn't a year or two ago in Hooters Pro Cup racing where everybody stayed out for the halfway money and pretty much thought short term. Well, this year we've seen a lot of the top teams really put their thinking caps on and take pit strategy to heart. I mean, this has really become more of a refinement now. In fact, we even have our first ever Goodyear pit stop competition coming up in just a few weeks in Chicago, guys.
Well, and that'll be pretty interesting. A lot of these crews very good at what they do. We're going to decide in that pit stop competition just which one of them is the best. At USA International, quite a lot of pit stop activity, but it did not involve Bobby Gill or Jay Fogelman. And look, the inside row there of lapped cars is much larger than the outside line that'll go behind Bobby Gill here on the restart.
Gill and Sarvis just mowed the field down prior to this caution, and it really has changed the complexion of this race as we go back to green. Bobby Gill right up through the gearbox, and he's going to pull Jay Fogelman along with him.
Christian Curley, Lee Tissett, Kinder, Jason Sarvis, and Curtis Davis running among the top guys. But again, Fogelman and Gill did not stop. And I thought it was interesting that Stephen Cox said that the pit stop strategy has changed over the course of the season here at USA International, and more than a few drivers opting to come down pit road in what we would call a short pit situation. Their mandatory stop is done. They've got a long run to the end of this race on tires and fuel.
It's going to be 140 laps for some of these drivers. Excuse me, 130 laps for some of these drivers. Steve Christian back on board his race car. Still a little bit of a handful. You can see him sawing on the wheel, trying to get it to come up off the corner and down into turn one. Cranks it hard and pretty steady right through the middle, but as the car comes up off the corner, has to wiggle the wheel just a bit to keep it off that outside retaining wall and keep sight of Jay Fogelman, who is also trying to run down that Bobby Gill number 5.
Fogelman having a little bit of a look inside, but he's still got a car length before he even gets there. Bobby Gill very confidently driving his Triple Diamond Enterprises black number 5, that with a brand new motor in it. Again, Dews and the guys putting the new stuff, dragging out the new stuff. They've nursed everything they could through the course of a season and done a very good job of getting as much life as possible out of the parts in their race car. Hey, they've got their guy leading points and leading the race, but now they bring out all the new gear that they've been saving for when it counts. Darrell Gwynn in the 67 Miller Lite car right in the middle of a big battle. The 39 is there. Danny Sammons.
Jeremy Bowser along with Derek Kelly. Big gaggle of cars trying to race for position or claw their way back towards the front after making stops and adjusting those race cars. Shane Huffman along with Curtis Davis racing side by side. Billy Mowry, Hal Goodson, Buggy Pletcher, and Kevin Sasser in the 38 car all running together.
Darrell Gwynn down on the inside, getting past pretty handily there by Derek Kelly. Mark Nesbitt in the Blue Cross Blue Shield of Florida GlaxoSmithKline Chevrolet. And Derek Kelly, who has kind of cherry-picked his way through the season, has some momentum going in.
Well, we knew he was going to have some money problems this year. You know, Discount Auto Parts was sold to Advanced Auto Parts, and they was under some budget restrictions. We knew they was only going to be able to sponsor us for 10 races. So we went in this thing knowing that we were going to be short, doing the best we could do. We have an average qualifying of 26th, an average finish of 5th, so that says that we've been finishing well. We just keep doing that, and we'll be carrying that momentum in the champions races.
Derek Kelly has taken a lot of heat over the season for how badly he qualifies, but he's got a lot of credit for how well he finishes.
Well, that's all part of the plan, I think. I think he's got his sights set on that Hard Charger award by W.J. Plymouth each and every race.
Well, he just about owned it there for a while. And Derek Kelly doing a very good job with a limited budget, a limited number of appearances. Quite enviable job, in fact, considering that quite a few drivers also in the top 25 in points have had to use a lot more races, or well, a few more races anyway, to stay there. So Derek Kelly doing a very, very good job of being efficient through the season, not only in qualifying and finishing, but in getting points.
I don't know about efficiency, but he drove the wheels off that car at South Boston.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks ago, he was up on that steering wheel. I think he was standing on the roof trying to drive that car. He wasn't standing up in the seat. He was standing on the roof getting around that racetrack.
Curtis Davis and Billy Mowery having a little tussle of their own going on. We'll look away from that and remind you of just who the leader in this race is. Bobby Gill, the number 5. And Bobby Gill has been in the driver's seat literally and figuratively throughout most of this season. He has been a contender for the points lead throughout the year. And now that it gets down to when it counts, he is going to be a factor regardless of who comes down from the Northern Division. They're going to have to go through Bobby Gill to win a Hooters Pro Cup championship.
Buggy Pletcher that time off into turn 3. A little nip into the left rear of the 55 of Lee Tissett. That was all it took to get Tissett just a hair bit sideways, and Pletcher drive to the inside to get by. John Kinder thinks about making the same move as Curtis Davis now. Picks it up and looks on the inside.
Lee Tissett very much in the picture early in the season. Even though we had called him the invisible man, he was very definitely a factor in the early season part of the race. Take a look at our Naturally Fresh Mountain Spring Water leaderboard. Bobby Gill has, since this picture was taken, grown a pretty sinister looking beard. Lee Tissett is in 6th, John Kinder, and now Daniel Johnson rounds out the top 10.
Hi, I'm Joy. And I'm Jessica. You're watching Hooters Pro Cup Racing on Speed Vision.
Bobby Gill leading the race, leading the championship point standings in the Southern Division, and you know he's already calculating. He's got better than $700,000 career earnings coming into this race if, and you know that either he or Elaine have the calculator out, the $250,000 for the championship could put him over the $1 million earning mark in Hooters Pro Cup Racing. Brian, that is a pretty impressive statistic.
That is very impressive, but let's not give it to Bobby Gill at all, because there's some very stout competitors looking to take that money away and go home with that trophy come the January banquet.
Yeah, but, $700,000 is a pretty nice leg up.
That is.
Even if he doesn't win the championship, that is a pretty impressive mark to have passed for Bobby Gill, running his own program, Gill Racing Enterprises. His wife is the car owner, he's the driver, and I mean, this is a man living the American dream, doing what he likes to do. Yes, he's had a couple of visits up in Busch and Winston Cup racing, but he's come back to, he's come to Hooters Pro Cup to run his own show, and he's running it very well, making a nice living for himself and his family.
Well, you've said it before. He's shown a lot of the teams how it needs to be done or how good they have to be. And
he's done them all a favor.
Done that.
And for the 3rd time this season, he is now our Lucas Oil Products halfway leader. He did the business at 5 Flags in the 3rd race of the year. He repeated at Peach State, and now he has done it here at USA International. Our Lucas Oil Products halfway leader is Bobby Gill. Our Goodyear full field rundown. There they are, Fogelman Christian somewhat in the distance. Curtis Davis and John Kinder, who you are watching right now, having a nice go at it there in 7th and 8th position. Michael Rich is 14th, Scott Hall 15th. R.D. Smith, R.D. Smith in the Hot Rod Magazine number 179. Jabe Jones in the 09, haven't talked much about the McGee and Jones Motorsports driver, had a great qualifying effort a few races back. Daryl Gwynn, we've seen a lot of the Miller Lite number 67. And Stacy Puryear, the most recent victim of an accident there, had the right front wheel come off. Mark Wallace, Mario Gosselin, of course, started the very first caution in going into turn 1. And that is our full field rundown. Bobby Gill going around the outside of Jabe Jones. We mentioned him. There he is. Toccoa, Georgia driver, veteran of the Hooters Pro Cup Series. Goes a lap down.
I understand they've got some new cars being put together in the shop at Toccoa, Georgia, and will debut one of those cars at Chicago. But this was the site of perhaps Jabe's hardest hit ever in racing. I talked to him Friday afternoon as they were bringing the haulers in and all, and he said, man, he looked down there at that turn 2 wall and said, I just don't like the look of that place down there. That hurt.
And Stephen, the leaders have still not yet pitted.
Well, your top 3 cars, Brian, have not been in at all. The 5 car, the 8 car, here is Jay Fogelman's crew that you're looking at, and the 16 car of Steve Christian. Now, we are well over 100 laps into this thing right now, and I had a conversation with the crew chief just a few moments ago of Jay Fogelman's car, and he said, you know, we're not really sweating it yet. We think we can go 140 laps, possibly 150, so they're not really in big trouble yet, but they are concerned.
Concerned because, Gene, they would much rather pit under caution than under green, and that's something you can't plan. Go on board with Stephen Christian, Lucas Oil Products number 16, hoping for a caution before they can come in and stop.
The USAR Hooters Pro Cup Series is being brought to you by Hooters Restaurants. Hooters, delightfully tacky, yet unrefined. And by Naturally Fresh Dressings. It's not just our name, it's our promise. And by Fairfield Inn, a Marriott property.
Well into the second half now of our Jackaroo Sauces 200 presented by Lucas Oil, watching the number 179 of R.D. Smith, the Hot Rod Magazine entry. And there he is. We should mention that John Curley, the Catawba Valley Community College crew, they also did not stop. So there are actually the first 4 cars on the racetrack are the cars that didn't come in and pit. Jason Sarvis in the number 92, the pole sitter and former leader of this race, is the first among the cars, and he is now up into 3rd position. Both of these cars have gone around John Curley. Sarvis is the leading car that did stop. So Christian did not, Sarvis did, and now Sarvis has passed Christian. Does that conclude that fresh tires and a full tank of gas are better or not? I'm saying the jury's still out.
Well, it is out. Sarvis has got 50 laps on those tires, those fresher tires, as opposed to the halfway point that we're at 125 plus now on the leaders' tires.
So let's take a look at our Lucas Oil Products halfway recap. The race began. Many NGA Pro Tour golfers wave at the green flag, and Mario Gosselin right into the wall. Turn 1, full restart, caution on the very first lap. Jason Sarvis, the pole sitter, pulled out, but on lap 55, Bobby Gill made a very nice pass on the rookie driver that started from the pole. On lap number 70, a whole flurry of pit stop action, including Sarvis, who came in. Bobby Gill did not. So Gill, the leader, staying out on the racetrack along with a handful of his fellow drivers, and that's our Lucas Oil Products halfway recap. Gill continues to work through the traffic. A 2-second interval just under between Bobby Gill and the second place car. Just behind Gill on the racetrack is the 139 of Shane Sieg, the S&W Motorsports Ford. And Gill just continues to work through the traffic smooth as silk. Coming up on the 39 once again of Danny Salmons, Fred's trailer repair car, the 55 of Lee Tissett. And I mean, one after another, these cars are going a lap down. Oh, Curtis Davis. Yeah, he's got the skill to make that work. 3 wide, comes inside. As Mowry goes wide, Davis comes inside, and Toby Robertson split them both.
You know, Brian, sometimes it's amazing what these guys do with their eyes closed.
Oh, man. Well, I don't know if Curtis Davis had his eyes closed, but I guarantee you I would.
It's a pretty good battle right now between Mowry and Davis, trying to get inside the top 5. I believe this is the 6th place battle. And Billy Mowry, quite a run for the young rookie. Just lives over in Clearwater. We've got caution.
Oh, and that's going to be Scott Hall up into the outside wall. And for those drivers who had not yet stopped, here's the break they were looking for. The right front on Scott Hall's Taylor Motorsports Carlin Financial car, very definitely damaged there. The crowd on their feet once again, and boy, they have been since lap 1 with the action going on here tonight. So Scott Hall takes a damaged race car back to the pits, and now the leaders will have an opportunity to come down pit road under caution, which is what they had all been hoping for. The Hooters girls working the crowd here at Lakeland USA International. There comes Bobby Gill, Jay Fogelman, Stephen Christian, and John Curley will all now have an opportunity to pit, and there they are. So Gill first, then Fogelman, Christian. Curley dives to his pit stall first, and Stephen Cox is downstairs with the middle of it all.
Bobby Gill is your leader. He will come in. I'll tell you, this guy has a brand new engine under the hood made by automotive specialists, and it is really hauling the mail out there. You can just hear that thing sing down the straightaways, guys. He has all kinds of power there. Now, look right over behind Bobby Gill. The number 8 car of Jay Fogelman is also in, your second place car, and he has a little bit of problem being too tight. Now, guys, I have talked to a lot of crew members up and down pit row all night long. Jay is the only guy who's not loose. Now, I asked them if they wanted to work with stagger, and they said, no, we're going to wedge it just a touch to loosen this race car up.
Well, Dews and the guys chasing loose lug nuts. John Curley comes out. The cars leave pit road pretty much in the same order that they entered it. We'll be back to USA in a moment. Welcome back here to Lakeland, Florida. Gene, you didn't forget how to wave since last time, did
Brian,
you?
come on now.
Wave, girls.
I carried the weight last time. There you go.
Okay, all right.
Wave to the Hooters, girls.
It's a national pastime as we get set to go back to the green flag. This time, Jason Sarvis stayed out on the racetrack.
As did Billy Mowry, who will restart second. With
hello, Shane Huffman.
Boy.
And bye-bye, Bobby Gill. What happened there, Bobby Gill?
Oh, my gosh.
Man, we had some excitement on the restart here. Shane Huffman bowled his way through from the lap car line down on the bottom. And Bobby Gill obviously got nudged up to the racetrack, and that lets Jason Sarvis say, see ya.
That jammed everybody up behind there. Look at this racing.
3 wide, Bobby Gill up against the wall again. So Jason Sarvis getting a nice little benefit with all the action going on behind him. Let's take another look at what happened here on the restart. It's still going on. There goes Huffman through on the inside. 3 wide, Buggy Pletcher trying to squeeze through there. Danny Salmon's down on the inside, and that put Bobby Gill up where he didn't want to be.
Al Goodson all the way down on the apron.
On board with Stephen Christian. Up front is where it's all going on. Oh, Bobby Gill doing a great job to hold on to that race car.
And Bobby Gill's lucky that he didn't cut down the left rear tire, but, you know, he may have a cut or may have a leaker over there. He may have to keep an eye on that.
Scott, talk about the race car tonight. What took you out?
Car was good. I don't know if something broke in the rear end. Went down in the corner here. Might have went in a little too hard. I'm new at this, learning. I think we had a good car. We just got caught at a bad time, went a lap down. But Carlin Financial Chevrolet working real good. We just need that pit stop. I just need a caution. I just hate that I was the caution.
Well, you qualified right behind your teammate Hal Goodson. You know, that's not all bad.
No, that's not bad. Hal's taught me a lot, you know, and I thank Hal for that and everybody on the 45 team for helping out. You know, they've been a tremendous help to the 54 team.
Scott Hall and his brother Jason, of course, the crew chief on that 54 car, and they have made some nice steady progress through the season, and it is too bad that he's out of the race early at this point. As we look at our USAR field summary, Shane Huffman rounding out the top 10, Curtis Davis in 9th position. And we're watching Bobby Gill trying to work his way back up to the lead after, well, the job was made a lot more difficult. There's John Curley battling for 5th with Jay Fogelman, and Stephen Cox is with the 44 crew.
Talk about the race car that you and John Curley just built. Now, I understand that the students were actually the mechanics to put this thing together.
Yeah, with matter of fact, that car, we just finished that car up about 11:30 on Thursday, so didn't get a chance to test it or nothing like that. These guys are great. We probably got one of the best drivers out here right now.
Now, who chose that wild paint scheme?
We had a vote on it. Mark still wanted the purple, and we outvoted him, so.
Mark being Mark Davis, we call him the teacher. He's the fellow that kind of runs the program there at Catawba Valley Community College, and it's something that I've always taken a great interest in since I first saw this student program a couple of years ago. What a great deal. You know, people from all over the country who either, you know, at a young age want to be crewmen or crew people, men and women, on a stock car racing team, or even at a later age. We've seen people going back to college and well into their 30s, and it's something that they just want to do. Catawba Valley Community College gives them the opportunity.
You know, John Curley and Mark Davis and that crew there, they have to regroup every year. Every year they go back in Pro Cup competition. They've got a brand new team. They may as well start from zero again, and they've been running up front all throughout the season and doing a pretty good job.
Curtis Davis working on Lee Tissett here for position on the racetrack, the 55 Cars Plus entry. And Curtis Davis with a new paint job on his 00 Broadway Motor Company Document Technologies Chevrolet.
Al Goods at number 45 being challenged by Derek Kelly. They both are laps down to the leaders. So no real battle for position there, just a little pride. Yeah, Davis getting a little physical down there. Come on, Lee, we've got to get going.
He's just trying to break in the paint job on the nose there a little bit, you know, for our Ford Championship Challenge series at the end of the season. Curtis Davis will be in the thick of that.
We've talked about it before. He wanted to see if that was really a mirage.
Yeah. Lee Tissett and Curtis Davis with one of the better races on the track, and Derek Kelly coming into the picture behind the two of them. Jason Sarvis, meanwhile, could be on the doorstep of a first career victory here for the young rookie driver. Buggy Pletcher and John Kinder going side by side. Kinder and Curtis Davis, two of those talented young drivers we've talked about that are not rookies. Jason Sarvis is technically a rookie driver as we look at our naturally fresh Mountain Spring Water leaderboard. See you in a moment. Welcome back to Lakeland, and the big news here is John Curley having problems out on the racetrack, has been very squiggly and squirrely. The crew, the driver, and we suspect he's got a tire going down. That, at least they know what it might be. The bad news is they have to stop under green. So John Curley takes the brand new paint job Catawba Valley Community College entry down to pit road. Stephen Cox is there.
Well, Brian, they were talking about it, but they're not sure exactly which tire it is. So they're going to look at the right rear, and sure enough, they must have decided that over the radio just as John was coming down pit road. You know, when the right rear tire goes down, what you feel as a driver is in the seat of your pants. In other words, if the problem is in the front end of the race car, you feel it with your hands. If the car is in the back end, you feel it in the back of the race car, kind of through the seat, actually, as you're sitting there. That's how you tell it. John judged this to be the right rear tire, and it was right.
Apparently on the restart, Gene, you know, a slowly deflating tire from that whole melee in the restart. Curley was involved behind the situation with Bobby Gill. Our field summary, Billy Mowery having a nice run here tonight. Stays up in the top 5. Kinder and Curtis, John Kinder and Curtis Davis, 6th and 7th. So the Catawba Valley Community College crew going to work under green, doing a pretty good job of getting him in and out pretty quickly. We should mention that many of the graduates from Mark Davis and John Curley's program there are placed on Busch, Winston Cup, etc. teams, and so they get what they came and paid for, an education and the experience that makes them valuable to stock car racing teams.
Well, you know, in addition to stock car racing teams, also some of the IndyCar type teams.
Bobby Gill, yeah, coming up on Jason Sarvis. Didn't take him long to get there. Didn't take him long to recover from the problems on the restart, and Bobby Gill has taken the lead away from Jason Sarvis for the second time in this race. And on fresher tires, that only bodes ill for the rest of the field.
Sarvis came in right around lap 68, 69. So those tires are definitely getting tired. They're going to work around Luke Hill, a driver that runs a lot of the Florida-type modifieds in one of those modified series located in the Florida area. He's got a little experience here at USA International Speedway and making his first start in the Pro Cup Series. But Bobby Gill definitely not making his first start. He's marching his way right back to the front as he's gotten around Sarvis, trying to put a little distance between himself and the Myrtle Beach regular. Jason's got to be looking forward to Myrtle Beach in that 5 Champions Championship Series.
Add the 67 laps that Bobby Gill they just showed having led 67 laps. Add that to 2,399 laps coming into this race. And, well, he's not a greedy man, but he leads a lot of laps, and he leads the ones that count. And that's when they hand out money.
That's the important part for many of these teams.
It's the important part for Bobby Gill. You can guarantee that. Very little about racing interests him from a pure thrill standpoint anymore. He's been doing it for a long time. Now he's doing it to make a living. Make no mistake about that. He and Dews and the guys aim everything they do towards being successful at the end of the season. And there is Bobby Gill, who has just taken the lead for the second time in this race. And on fresh tires, he is putting 1/10 of a second or more per lap on everybody behind him. Jason Sarvis hanging tough with him there. But it's a long way back to the next contenders. There's Stephen Christian, Jay Fogelman. Bobby Gill, the class of the field here tonight, going around the 39 one more time. Danny Salmon's going another lap down, and there are very few cars left on the lead lap out here tonight, the way Sarvis and now Bobby Gill are circling.
And they're just using the outside line. Bobby Gill continues to use that line and just not punish the race car.
Our Goodyear full field rundown will show you where everybody is running. Hal Goodson back in 13th position. Of course, his teammate car, the 54 of Scott Hall, is parked. Mark Nesbitt, there's Luke Hill, who was just seen being passed by the leaders a moment ago. Jimmy McLean, Shane Wallace having mechanical problems early in the race in the 4 car, the E.M. Wallace Incorporated Chevrolet. Bill Clemens Jr., his test session came to an end a while ago. They decided they had learned enough, and now you got a problem with Jeremy Bowser, who, like Derek Kelly, is losing the bumper cover on the back of his race car.
Jeremy Bowser brought his Ford to the track to race, and the bumper cover off and up at the top of the groove there, turns 3 and 4. It's out of the way. I would think that no caution is being shown. But Bowser had to go grab the Chevrolet. That car was actually for sale, sitting back in the back lot of the pit area earlier today. They went and grabbed the car and put it in the field off of turn 4. He got it sideways, slapped the wall with the right rear and the right front, but he's able to continue on, although some of the body work is starting to jettison off that race car.
R.D. Smith's Hot Rod Magazine crew going under the hood of the 179 car. That's not a good sign, but all signs are indeed good for Bobby Gill.
Hi, I'm Lila. We're glad you made it back for more Hooters Pro Cup Racing.
Thank you, Lila. Bobby Gill out in front, coming up behind the number 9 of Chad Mullis. Let's go back downstairs, though. Stephen Cox with the driver of the 179.
Well, tough luck tonight. You made it about 3/4 of the way through. Tell me what happened to the race car.
We ended up, I don't know if we lost a cylinder somewhere about 10, 15 laps ago, and then we were trying to ride it out, and we ended up losing another one, so we decided to go ahead and bring it on in before we caused maybe more damage.
How was the car running before that?
We were running fair. We were, I'm not exactly sure where we were at, but the car was kind of tight, but I say we were kind of fair. We were going to have a decent finish.
Well, another tough night for another young driver there, as R.D. Smith will now be a spectator, along with a record crowd for Hooters Pro Cup 2001. We've got the biggest crowd here at USA International that we've had all season long, and there's hardly a seat in the place that isn't taken. I think the fans are doing their own R&D here, looking for the best seats in the house for the last race of the season coming up.
And they came out despite some threatening weather near and around the area. In fact, we've heard reports that the track is almost surrounded by rain, but we're still dry here and racing our way to Checkers. And it's not going to rain on Bobby Gill's parade, but we've talked about the young guns. Curtis Davis is holding his own tonight. Let's go down trackside. Our Stephen Cox with a report.
Well, Gene, those of you who have known Curtis Davis for very long know that this guy is probably as good on road courses as he is on ovals. A very, very gifted driver. In fact, some of the talk here along pit row is that this kid is just a natural. You know, he has the intangibles that you can't teach somebody. They either know it or they don't. Curtis Davis and the crew doing a very good job tonight. Worked their way into the top 5 just in the last half, last even quarter of this race. So it looks very, very good for him. And I talked to Curtis's crew chief moments ago, and he says, look, I think we may have a shot at these guys. He's got the 8 car of Jay Fogelman and some lap cars in between them. And right now, those lapped cars are the real concern, because we know Curtis Davis has been quick all night long.
Stephen, you're right, and we turn the clock back and look at last Thanksgiving's race, the Hooters 300 here. Curtis Davis was out front. He was running away with it, and they ran out of fuel. What a tough break it was for the young man, but they learned a lot of lessons, smiled, and went on, and have actually posted some good runs here at USA.
Well, Curtis has always got a smile and a kind word for anybody that comes up to say hello to him. I always ask about his brother Kyle, who seems to spend a lot of time at the beach during the summer while Curtis is in the race shop working hard. And it won't be long before we're going to be seeing and reading about, I'm sure, Curtis Davis, John Kinder, some of these fellows you know are headed because they're young enough and talented enough for teams in every form of motorsports to be looking at these guys.
And it's a family deal. A lot of fathers and sons. We look at second-generation driver Lee Tissett there, battling with John Kinder. Of course, John Kinder's dad working with them as well.
So John Kinder on the high line, Lee Tissett on the low line, side by side as they come off onto the straightaway here. And some good racing is still going on out there on the racetrack. And of course, drivers trying to solidify their positions in the top 25 or even maybe advance a position or two, because the seeding going into the Four Champions Championship Series is based on where you finish during the course of the regular season. Then you go to the playoffs with one race worth of points, so to speak, as if there had already been a single race to begin what will be a 5-race season to decide the title.
And Brian, when we started the race, Bobby Gill had a 68-point advantage over Hal Goodson, but between Goodson, who was second, and Goslin, who was sixth, only 95 points separating those 5 drivers. So it's still a possibility of doing some shuffling there in the top 6 here going into the final 5 championship races for the South.
Yeah, and Stephen Christian in a better position to move up a spot than either Goodson or Goslin, of course, who is out of the race. Goodson is not having a very good race. Christian is in a position to perhaps move up a spot in the standings, which would give him a few more points going into the championship series.
That's right. Christian only trailing by 23 points. Closest battle inside that top 5 is Shane Huffman, who was only 3 markers behind Jay Fogelman when we threw the green flag.
Curtis Davis, who we referred to a while ago, sitting 14th in points in that 00 car. So he's getting set to go to the championship here, looking for a good strong run, bringing out the best equipment and a new paint job that he can here to close off the season, and he's having a good run here. This is, again, a very low-budget operation. Curtis and maybe one other crewman works pretty much full-time in the race shop. So, you know, they're marshaling, or I should say managing their resources for when it counts, as so many of the teams do here at the end of the season.
Done a whale of a job, but as has Jason Sarvis. Looking at the point standing, Sarvis, the leading rookie in points, he sits in position number 7. So that team has been hustling all season long as well.
Curtis Davis has found a lonesome spot on the racetrack right now to run all by himself. Likewise, Bobby Gill, pretty lonely out there in the lead. And you know that he is managing his resources, meaning he's keeping an eye in the mirror, an ear to the crew and the spotter telling him where the competition is coming from, and he's not going to mash on the gas any harder than he has to. He's not going to go and get himself into any trouble that he doesn't need to. He's got this race pretty well under control right now.
He's got it on cruise control, but several others trying to step up just a little bit there. Shane Huffman looks like they've just not quite been able to put it together here in the second half of the event. They're not running up front, but they're not running out back either. They're just kind of biding their time right now, trying to get out of Lakeland unscathed or with minimal damage as they ride behind Mark Nesbitt's number 30. Nesbitt will duck to the inside. That is the backup car. That's the car that Nesbitt spun and back to the infield wall, the inside wall of South Boston. And that was the second car he crashed during that weekend.
On board with Stephen Christian one more time. Hope you enjoyed all those laps on board with Stephen Christian, because you're still riding with him on the 16 car. And up in front of him, it's the 57 of Joe Harrison Jr. running in front of Stephen Christian. Harrison's Automotive Chevrolet. Shane Huffman in the 84 car about to go a lap down, and that is another indication of just how well Bobby Gill is getting around USA International here tonight when you put Shane Huffman a lap down. And we're talking about a man who has got 3 wins this year.
And of course, Brian, the fans can dial in on their computer to www.usarprocup.com and get all the information on the drivers, look at the schedules, and see how things are shaping up for 2002.
Well, and it's got a great comparison of the Northern Division and Southern Division. You can kind of click on one or the other and keep track of the points in the 2 divisions as Bobby Gill puts Shane Huffman a lap down. So you've got a 3-time winner passing a 3-time winner on the racetrack here tonight. But on the website, it's great. You know, you can keep track of the 2, and up to now, it really hasn't mattered that much. Shane Sieg on pit road, down and away under green.
going to hurt his efforts. He needed a good run to try to sneak into the top 25 and go to the championship races. I would say right now that pretty much negates his opportunity.
I would say so. But on the website, I was saying that you could have kept track of the two divisions kind of separate from one another. But now, Gene, you can go and do the kind of comparisons that you mentioned between the points leader in the Northern Division and how many points per race, et cetera, how many points. Kind of do your own statistical analysis of how the North and the South are going to match up in our Four Champions Championship Series. How is Bobby Gill going to do against Marty Lindley when it counts in these last 5 races? It'll be fascinating to do that kind of comparison, and you can do it best on the USARProCup.com website. Darrell Quinn, and our next race, our final race for the Northern Division, will be the Naturally Fresh Dressings 250 from the Chemung Speedrome. And I get a great opportunity. I get to go up and do Stephen Cox's job because Stephen's going to be driving. So I'm going to be pit reporting while Stephen's driving on the 3/8 mile Chemung Speedrome. Stephen's going to get a shot behind the wheel there, and I wish him luck, and hopefully he'll give me a few pointers on who to talk to and what to talk about with the Northern Division guys, and it'll give me a great opportunity to get a chance to know some of them too.
You know, I think we ought to wire in on his radio, or maybe even just put an in-car microphone in there and
heart rate monitor.
Yeah, there you go.
Heart rate monitor.
It's going to be a neat time for Steven to get a chance to race. He's been talking about it for some time.
I could think of a few tracks where I'd rather make my debut than Chemung Speedrome, I would have to say. So we'll be right back here to USA in a moment.
Stay tuned for more Hooters Pro Cup racing on Speed Vision.
At USA International, the Jackaroo Sauces 200 presented by Lucas Oil continues with Bobby Gill out in front. And Jason Sarvis still looks like he has a shot at a first career victory here for the rookie driver because he's keeping Bobby Gill at least in sight, and very well in sight, in fact. Derek Kelly and Hal Goodson. Kelly going a lap down early in the race, having some bodywork problems. There's Bobby Gill, your race leader, your series points leader, and your defending series champion. He has won just about everything that Hooters Pro Cup has to offer. John Curley with a little right side damage evident to the 44 car. They came in under green.
Right, I was going to say, remember, he is laps down, but running pretty strong with a fresh right rear on that number 44. Trying to run down Curtis Davis. Looks like Bobby Gill's going to step up and try to put Michael Rich another lap down as they work down that back straightaway and off into turn number 3.
The interval back to second is about half of what it was the last time we saw it. It was nearly 2 seconds before, so Jason Sarvis is definitely reeling in Bobby Gill right now.
Bobby Gill's trying to work through some traffic, and now just a shade over 9/10 of a second back to Jason Sarvis, but Jason's going to have to step it up to be able to catch Bobby Gill. Will be one thing. To get around him is going to be a totally different story.
Well, catching him when Bobby Gill knows you're on the way, he's going to get the word from Dews and the guys down if he can't see you in the mirror, and then he might just push a little bit harder on that throttle. The interval has grown slightly since the last time we looked at it. Part of that, of course, is traffic and just the way they get around this 3/4 mile track. But anybody taking notes on how to drive it, USA International should be watching very closely the way Bobby Gill's doing it here tonight.
There's Mowry, the 33 car. Looks like it's off the pace just a little bit now. And put together a good run right inside the top 10 most all night long. And his second outing of the Pro Cup Series looks like it's starting to backslide a little bit, but nonetheless, he can go back to Clearwater, Florida, and be very, very happy with the run he had here tonight.
Getting some reports over the radio that the driver, Billy Mowry, may be having some difficulty there in the cockpit. It is a little bit warm and humid here tonight. There's Jason Sarvis, who started from the pole, led this race a couple of times. In both cases was passed for the lead by Bobby Gill. And now he's trying to return the favor if he can just get up there. He'd like to make a race out of it here in the closing laps as Gill comes up behind Lee Tissett. And if that Tissett is currently running in 6th position, if he goes a lap down, that leaves only 5 cars on the lead lap here at Lakeland. At USA International, the deed is almost done as Bobby Gill goes around the outside of Lee Tissett. And again, Tissot going a lap down, and here is our Naturally Fresh Mountain Spring Water leaderboard. Bobby Gill leads. Curtis Davis rounds out the top 5. Derek Kelly firmly in 8th position. And actually, Tissot running 6th, John Kinder 7th. Both of them have gone a lap down, and we are 9 laps to go in the race. The interval down under 9/10 of a second, right at 8/10 of a second flat. So Sarvis is trying to bring Bobby Gill back, but 8/10 of a second, I don't know. That's a law. That's a 1/10 of a second per lap. And I don't think he's that much faster.
I don't think he is either. And the traffic, although there is traffic to work around, it's not going to be that intense.
Billy Mowry, man, out of the car.
Overheated.
Yep.
He himself overheated in that race car. A little longer distance is what he is used to, but he can still be very proud of what he's done tonight.
Bobby Gill very used to 200 laps or more here at USA International, and he is showing everybody the way home as he comes up once again behind the 139 of Shane Sieg. And leading Jason Sarvis. And as much as we sentimentally would like to see a rookie driver get his first victory, Bobby Gill is just too good here tonight. And you know he's doing a little bit of mirror driving, making sure that he just stays out in front of Sarvis, doesn't let him get any closer, keeping one eye on traffic and one eye on the opposition behind him. Now he's got a car in between, and that could be really the final blow to Sarvis's hopes of getting a win here tonight.
You can see Sarvis has the right front rotor heated up. It's all glowing red. He's working that car to his best ability here in the closing laps, but it looks like it's going to come up short.
5 laps to go as Bobby Gill crosses the stripe, comes up behind the 09 of Jabe Jones, the McKeon Jones Motorsports, and the 9 of Chad Mullis. What a coincidence there. A pair of 9s being passed by the leader. And in both cases, it is not the first time. Bobby Gill smoothly down inside on Chad Mullis and the Mullis Drilling Service Ford.
It's like Hal Goodson directly ahead of him. Goodson already down a lap to the leader, if not 2. We'll have to double check that in our final rundown, but Goodson really having troubles here tonight.
Couple of laps down already. There's Hal Goodson. Could be going down for the 3rd lap actually at this point. And if he can stay out in front, he won't go a 3rd lap down. There is Jason Sarvis, all kinds of traffic to deal with. He's got to go the long way around the 9 car that Bobby Gill already passed. Here's Gill coming up behind Hal Goodson. Goodson moves over and lets him go, so that's the 3rd lap that Hal Goodson will lose here tonight. And again, we're talking about the man who sits 2nd in points to the man who just passed him on the racetrack for the season. Coming up behind the 00 of Curtis Davis. Curtis Davis still on the lead lap. With laps winding down, he may end up staying on the lead lap and pull down a 5th place finish here tonight.
That will tie his career best in the Pro Cup Series. Still looking to step it up and maybe get a win here in the series. He may have to wait till 2002 with just those 5 final championship races to decide it.
Final lap is upon us here. The final 3/4 mile circuit of USA International, and Bobby Gill looks very definitely like he is on his way to victory here tonight. That would simply put a punctuation mark on what has already been a very successful season for the defending champion. He gets another win to tell everybody that he is going to be the man to beat, at least among the Southern Division drivers. Win number 5 for Bobby Gill, and the fireworks have just begun.
Fireworks over turn 2 as the rest of the field does work by, but man, Bobby Gill has been on a tear.
And the fireworks have just begun. What I meant by that is now we are on the doorstep of the 4 Champions Challenge Series, when Bobby Gill really has to go to work in a short season to decide perhaps a 3rd championship. But a lot of drivers, both from the Northern Division and from the Southern Division, will have something to say about that. Dues and the crew celebrating. Steve Deluzhnevsky, the crew chief for Bobby Gill. And those two rarely see eye to eye on anything, but somehow, as you said, they ought to get married. Well, I don't know. Bobby and Elaine are pretty happily married and new parents, of course, but it is always humorous how Dues and Bobby fuss and fight and argue, and at the end, they just end up in victory lane together.
They get the job done.
They
They
get
sure
it done.
do.
So the celebration is about to begin. The crowd has seen Bobby Gill doing that celebrating here before, and they have to be thinking to themselves when Bobby Gill and the crew returns to USA International in November around Thanksgiving. It's going to be for all the marbles here, but he has certainly put a nice effort together tonight to cap the regular season with a victory. So he's just about to climb out of the race car right now. The crew is heading over that way. Our crew is already there. The fireworks are still going on over the Turn 2 area, the grand finale of the Southern Division season for 2001 Hooters Pro Cup. And Gene, it has been a tremendous experience. It ends the way it started with a victory by Bobby Gill at USA International. Well, Bobby Gill is climbing out of the race car, and Stephen Cox, of course, is there waiting for him. So after he tells you who's number one, let's go to Stephen.
Well, congratulations, Bobby. You looked really good out there. Now, you know, the trick was you needed to finish 16th or better, and I think you really overachieved tonight. Talk about the Champion Series. You're right where you want to be.
Yeah, it is. It's Billy Harris car, Automotive Special, Johnny High Tire, Carrera, a bunch of people helped us out. We put a new clip on this car after Lonesome Pine. We was wanting to save it for Chicago, but we had to bring it out a day earlier. But we had CB Bird helping us today, and that helped us out a lot, and the car was just awesome.
You know, at this point, I would usually ask you to talk about the pass for the lead. Well, this time the pass for the lead was in the pits. Talk about your pit strategy.
Well, Dudes has been working hard on the crew, man. I mean, they ain't been practicing nothing, but we got a bunch of good guys that finally got it all together. They're changing tires, so I think we're going to give those boys something to run for the last 5 races.
Were you worried at all about not having any yellow flag in time?
Yeah, you know, we figured we go about lap 45 on a tank of gas, and that's what we was worried about. And, I mean, we got the caution there and come in, you know, come out in second there. I could have sworn at 33 we lapped him earlier in the race, but you know, I got to thank my crew and all the guys. Hey, could ask for a better race today.
Here's our final result. Jason Sarvis coming up just a little bit short of collecting his first victory during the regular season, but he'll have an opportunity during the playoffs that we keep calling it. Lee Tissett, John Kinder, Derek Kelly coming back. Stayed a lap down, but you know, came back from some adversity. Michael Rich, in his one and only appearance this season, finishes pretty well. And you're looking at the rest of the results down through the standings, and again, we're on the threshold of the championship series, and for many of these drivers, including Joe Harrison, Toby Robertson, etc., they'll have 5 more opportunities for big money here at the close of the year.
Billy Mowry dropping to 27th after a top 10. In fact, for part of the time, a top 5 run going. Bill Clements Jr., the only Northern competitor, 38th. Of course, Goslin into the wall in turn number 1, and Mike Williams not making the start.
We'll be right back. Talk to some more of the top finishers in a few moments.
Coverage of the USAR Hooters Pro Cup Series has been brought to you by Hooters Restaurants. Hooters, delightfully tacky yet unrefined. And by Naturally Fresh Dressings. It's not just our name, it's our promise. By Jackaroo Sauces. Jackaroo tastes so great they named a steakhouse after us. And by Miller Lite, the great taste of a true Pilsner beer. And by Lucas Oil Products, the official lubricant of USAR and a worldwide leader in heavy-duty and high-performance lubricants.
The scene on pit road after the storm has already passed, and here are the standings going into our 4 Champions Championship Series. Bobby Gill ends up on top of the heap. Stephen Christian indeed did move into second position. Mario Goslin can take some consolation from tonight to the fact that he still has a shot at the title. And when it's all said and done, any one of these 25 drivers and their crews have a mathematical shot, although the chances are much better the higher up the standings you are going into that first championship race at Chicago. Back downstairs.
Well, you had to chase the 5 car all night like everybody else. Jason, I thought maybe you had a shot at him if it weren't for all the traffic.
I'll tell you what, man, we had a great car tonight. You know, maybe we can chalk it up to rookie mistakes, maybe. I don't know. You know, I drove my heart out. That was all I had, and we pitted a little early, thinking Bobby and them were going to come in too, in the rain, with the rain and everything, and it just didn't work out that way. You know, wasn't that many cars on the lead lap, so he got right back up behind me. So, you know, we didn't gain anything, had 50 laps on our tires, but, you know, we learned something, and if we can keep learning something and getting better each week, I think we'll be okay in the next 5.
You know, you're out of time to learn. So, I mean, you got to throw all your cards on the table now, man. This is the 4 Champions Challenge Series coming up. How good a shape are you in?
Man, we're pumped up. You know, we're the Black's Tire team is just, you know, we can get top 3 finishes. That's what we look for, you know. And like I said before, I think the win will come. You know, if we just stay up front and knock on that door, man. You know, that's what we're trying to do. And if the racing gods fall our way, we'll win one. So we'll see.
Jason Sarvis, for the 11th time this season, the 9th time in the Southern Division, is our Miller Lite Rookie of the Race. Back downstairs to our 3rd place finisher.
Steve, you looked good all night long, but pit strategy was really key tonight. Explain yours.
Well, it was, and what really happened to us that was bad, we came in it's time we wanted to, this right scheduled time, had a right rear tire going flat, and we didn't know it, only had 10 pounds of air in it. So we made an adjustment on what the car was doing, not knowing that, and obviously it went the wrong way. But I tell you, these guys did a super job all day. This Lucas Oil Products team, Irmo Grading, these guys have been with us all year long. We've run 2 cars in practice half the year, and we tried one, we tried the other, we did the same thing today, and chose the Chevrolet, and we run the top 3 with it. We just wasn't quite enough to catch Bobby.
Well, now you're set for the 4 Champions Challenge Series. You're really looking good. You got yourself a nice position in it. What changes from here out?
You know, I don't think you do anything different except try to make sure all your equipment's fresh. You know, you go through all the bearings, the basics. You try to make sure those things are replaced. The motors are fresh, which we're in good shape. We've got 2 cars completely ready, fresh motors for both cars. So we're really pumped up about this thing, and we're going to give this 5-car a run and the rest of these guys.
Very good, sir.
Stephen Christian indeed goes in 2nd behind Bobby Gill in points. Our hard charger of the race, the W.J. Plemons Insurance Award, going to Daniel Johnson, who started 26th and finished 9th. And our Carolina Kit Car Crunch Award has to be Mario Gosselin.
Absolutely, Brian.
Leader in the clubhouse on the very first lap. As the crews wind up their deliberations here tonight, pack up the pit bulls. They'll be back for a 300-lap race at the end of the season. That might change Jason Sarvis's learning curve just a little bit, too.
A bit.
Our upcoming events here in the 4 Champions Championship Series begins at Chicago Motor Speedway up north, Jennerstown, then we go to Myrtle Beach, Concord, and back here to USA International. Those are the 5 races that will decide the 2001 champion in the Hooters Pro Cup Series, named in honor of our 4 champions, as always. Well, we hope you enjoyed the show here tonight. We look forward to the championship series. Congratulations to Dews and the crew from Bobby Gill's number 5, and our thanks to Racing Electronics for all their help in keeping us in touch with the crews and with each other. To Carolina Custom Golf Carts for making our job much easier at the racetrack, transporting us around. There's the happy family, and we will see much more of them in the upcoming races. Even Grandpa on the far left there, the Fairfield Inn, providing accommodations for the Hallbrook Productions crew. And we thank you for joining us here. My special thanks to Gene Crane up here in the broadcast booth, to Stephen Cox down on pit road for giving me the opportunity to do his job up in Chemung. So I'll see you from Chemung. I'm Brian Drever. So long, everybody.